Hello and welcome to TVB News. 2 drainage workers died after they were suspected to have inhaled hydrogen sulfide in a manhole in Sha Tin. The Drainage Services Department said the workers were responsible for cleaning work in the area, but were not required to enter the manhole. The authorities have now suspended all similar underground sewage cleaning work. Timothy Lee reports.
Police received a report at around midnight about 2 workers lying inside a 4-meter-deep manhole at Yunwo Playground in Sha Tin. Firefighters arrived and tried to rescue the 2 workmen, who were already unconscious at the time. They were later pronounced dead at hospital. Authorities say the 2 men, aged 26 and 34 respectively, were working with 2 others inside the manhole before they lost consciousness. They were suspected of breathing in hydrogen sulfide gas. The 2 other workers managed to climb out of the manhole and were sent to hospital for treatment. Reports said while the workers were underground, there was no one to give them support outside the manhole. The 4 workers were said to have started work at 11 p.m. on Monday, and tragedy struck just an hour later. This morning, Labor Department officers were seen conducting investigations at the site. The Drainage Services Department noted the 4 workers were performing sewage cleaning work at the time of the incident, but stressed they were not required to enter the manhole.
One of the directions of investigation is this: workers should not be asked to enter the manholes when they want to clean the drainage. They just have to spray water from above ground. Why did the fatality happen? We have to look into that.
Lin said similar sewage cleaning activities in the city have all been suspended to enable contractors and workers to be informed about proper underground work procedures. Meanwhile, Chief Executive John Lee offered his condolences to families of the deceased. He stressed that an effective management system plays a key role in industrial safety.
People work in enclosed areas. I am aware that there is an updated guideline in place regulating the work in an enclosed area. I do believe that investigation will be conducted to look into the cause.
Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The city's first trial under the UN Antiterrorism Ordinance got underway at the High Court today. The hearing is expected to last 60 days. Mimo Singhai reports.
The 7 defendants were accused of planning to set off 2 bombs targeting police on December 8, 2019, during a protest rally on Hong Kong Island. The group planned to vandalize shops operated by mainland-funded companies on Hennessy Road in Wan Chai and set off the bombs upon the arrival of police officers. In her opening statement, prosecutor Juliana Chow presented pictures of the 2 homemade bombs. One contained 8 kilograms of explosives, while the other one had 2 kilograms. 150 metal nails were found inside the larger bomb, which, according to the prosecution, could blast 30 walls and injure or kill people within 400 meters. The 2-kilogram bomb had an explosive radius of 100 meters. The prosecution said the bombs were connected to a mobile phone, meaning the weapons would be triggered when someone ran the device. Police found a mobile phone in a defendant's apartment. A phone record shows that a suspect made a call to the device that was linked to the bombs, and everything was ready. The prosecution said people who joined the protest that they knew nothing about the bombs, and they could have been injured. The bombs could have also affected nearby residents. A social media message suggests that the purpose of the plan was to attack the police and snatch the officers' guns. Social media conversations also show that some suspects had military training in Taiwan in September 2019. They also mentioned other types of weapons, such as crossbows and knives. The prosecutor reminded the jury to leave their political views aside when deciding on the verdict. She added bombs harm people indiscriminately and do not have any political perspectives. News 9, TVB News.
Secretary for Justice Paul Lam said in a newspaper interview that a fake news law is off the legislative agenda. Meanwhile, Chief Executive John Lee says he hopes there is no need to pass such a law.
When it comes to incorrect information, there should be clarification. I think there is an improvement when it comes to dissemination of information. But it doesn't mean that we should not stay vigilant against false information. We will monitor the situation. But my take is that if this problem can be addressed by enhancing professionalism, then it should be our first choice.
In an interview with the South China Morning Post, Secretary for Justice Paul Lam said a fake news law is now off the government's agenda. Lam said authorities need to combat soft resistance. A fake news law was mentioned by the previous administration during the 2019 social unrest. 2 people in the United Kingdom have been charged with passing restricted information to China, while in an unconnected case, 3 people in Germany were arrested on suspicion of spying for China. On Monday, British prosecutors said a former researcher working in the UK Parliament and another man were charged with spying for China. British nationals Christopher Barry, 32, and Christopher Cash, 29, will appear in court on Friday. In Berlin, prosecutors said 3 German nationals had handed technologies with potential military purposes to Chinese intelligence. And today, in a separate case, a man who works for a German lawmaker in the European Parliament was arrested on suspicion of spying for China. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said the reports aim to smear and suppress China. He urged the relevant parties to stop spreading disinformation about China as a spy threat. An independent review of the neutrality of the UN agency helping Palestinian refugees has been published. It found that Israel never expressed concern about anyone on UNRWA's staff lists that it has received annually since 2011. The review was carried out after Israel alleged that a dozen employees of UNRWA had participated in Hamas's October 7th attacks, prompting some countries to suspend funding the body. Meanwhile, reports say Israeli troops are back in the southern Gaza area of Khan Yunis weeks after withdrawing, forcing many Palestinians returning to their homes to flee again. Nazvi Karim has more.
As bulldozers scoop out mounds of earth, anxious Palestinians check to see if their loved ones are among the debris. Raida Abul Al-Ula is looking for her son Jamaluddin, saying she witnessed his 3-bullet execution. A mass grave in the destroyed Nasser hospital compound in the southern city of Khan Yunis. Palestinian authorities have so far uncovered more than 280 bodies, Jamaluddin not among them. With Israel continuing to pound Gaza with airstrikes, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was forced to defend Washington in the wake of a State Department report on human rights. He was asked if the U.S. had double standards in the way it regularly condemns Russian aggression in Ukraine, but repeatedly refuses to hold Israel to account in Gaza.
Do we have a double standard? The answer is no. As this report makes clear, in general, as we're looking at human rights and the condition of human rights around the world, we apply the same standard to everyone. And that doesn't change whether the country in question is an adversary, a competitor, a friend, or an ally. And that's hugely important.
Meanwhile, an independent review by former French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna on the UN Agency for Palestine has been published. The review says Israel has yet to provide evidence that some UNRWA staff members belong to terrorist organizations and that many took part in the October 7th attacks.
UNRWA plays an indispensable and irreplaceable role in the region. And this must be said clearly. Let's start from that. In the absence of a political solution, we know it provides life-saving humanitarian aid and essential services to the population.
The review did highlight some neutrality issues, such as UNRWA staff expressing political views publicly. Its recommendations have been accepted by UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. In Tel Aviv, dozens of people joined families of the more than 100 hostages still held by Hamas ahead of the first Jewish Passover festival since they were captured. They gathered at Hostages Square, where an empty table, a display with the names and a big clock reminded them how many days their loved ones have been away. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
Pro-Palestinian protests have swept U.S. college campuses following mass arrests at Columbia University in New York City. On Monday, police arrested dozens more demonstrations at Yale University in Connecticut and New York University in Manhattan. Tracy Furness has more.
These were the scenes at Columbia University in New York Monday. Students protesting the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The university cancelled in-person classes Monday as more than 100 pro-Palestinian demonstrators camped out on Columbia's green. Tensions remained high as campus gates were locked to anyone without a school ID. More than 100 protesters had been arrested last Thursday, but students at Columbia continued protesting throughout the weekend and into this week. Additional arrests have been made. The arrest sparked students in other parts of the country to demonstrate. Police cracked down at Yale University in Connecticut, arresting 45 protesters who blocked traffic around the university's New Haven campus. The protests have pitted students against one another, with pro-Palestinian students demanding their schools condemn Israel's assault on Gaza and divest from companies that sell weapons to Israel. Some Jewish students say much of the criticism of Israel has veered into anti-Semitism, which has made them feel unsafe. Speaking to reporters following an Earth Day event, US President Joe Biden condemned the anti-Semitic protests.
Do you condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses?
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
The arrests at Yale and Columbia have sparked pro-Palestinian demonstrators to set up encampments on other campuses across the country, including the University of Michigan and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's latest effort to send some migrants to Rwanda finally won approval from Parliament early today. This just hours after he pledged deportation flights would begin in July. On Monday, Sunak held a rare morning press conference demanding the House of Lords stop blocking his key proposal. He said both houses of Parliament would remain in session until it was approved. The government plans to deport migrants who enter the UK illegally as a deterrent to those looking to cross the English Channel in small boats in the hope they will be able to claim asylum. The legislation had been repeatedly blocked by a series of court rulings and opposition from human rights activists who say it is illegal and inhumane. However, the House of Lords recognized the primacy of the House of Commons and dropped the last of its proposed amendments, clearing the way for the bill to become law. Welcome back. Taiwan's Hualien County experienced several earthquakes this morning, with one such tremor reaching a magnitude 6.3. This just weeks after the region suffered a 7.2 magnitude earthquake. Authorities have suspended all work and classes today. Footage shows the moment the earthquake struck the county. The strength of the quake led to a partial collapse of the full hotel. Rescue personnel rushed to the scene, with hotel managers saying no one was trapped inside the building. Another structure suffered a similar fate. More than 100 tremors were recorded between last night and this morning. Locally, peak tram services remain suspended for the third consecutive day as authorities continue to remove fallen trees affecting the tracks. This as the operator of the cableway aims to remove most of the tree trunks today and will announce more details on the arrangement tomorrow. Authorities said they will deploy more people to clear up the trees affecting the peak tram's Barker Road station after Sunday's amber rainstorm warning signal. Lawmaker Yu Pak-leung from the tourism's constituency criticized the slow pace of the tree removal process and believes it will damage the city's image. City buses Route 15, traveling between Central and the Peak, continues to be diverted to pick up passengers at the peak tram terminus. Meanwhile, the weather in the SAR remains unstable as the amber rainstorm warning signal was in force for over 4 hours this morning. The government received more than 50 reports of fallen trees. The observatory forecast rainfall and thunderstorms will continue in the next few days. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.